Hello everyone, this is Duan, and today we're going to look at iterable in JavaScript. We're going to talk about what is iterable and how it is used in JavaScript, and also what is the iterator that is related to iterable and how does that work. Okay, so let's get started. So, what is iterable in JavaScript? Iterable is basically a data structure that provides interface for iteration. So let's look at an example. On the right, we have a iterable variable, which is an array that contains 3 numbers. We can iterate or going through this array using a for-off loop, and we can iterate through each of the value inside of that array and add 1 to it. So this process is what we call an iteration, and this variable is what we call an iterable. Okay. So in JavaScript, array is not the only iterable we have. We also have strings, sets, maps, and even generators that are also iterables. And what we use to distinguish between iterable and non-iterable in JavaScript is using the iterable protocol that's introduced in ECMAScript 6. What it basically is that it uses a unique key. This key is the iterator, and this iterator returns a function that defines something is an iterable or not. If this object has a key symbol.iterator, and that key returns a function, it's a iterable. If it returns undefined, it's not a iterable. So let's talk about what uses iterable in JavaScript. The two expressions that use iterable as a requirement is the for-off loop we've just looked at, and also this yield star expression. The yield star is commonly found in the generator functions to delegate parts of the functionality to another generator function. And you might have also seen iterable worked with the spread operators, which is very common, especially if you're working with arrays. On the right, we have an example of 2 arrays being merged together. So we're spreading the elements inside of 2 array into a new array. As a result, we concatenated the 2 arrays. We can also use spread operator with object. So now you might think, is object iterable as well because we're able to use this spread syntax with it? Actually, this object is not iterable by default in JavaScript, and actually use a different protocol with the spread operator. So we can confirm this by going to the console or the DevTools of your browser. And at the bottom right is an example showing you how to check if something is iterable or not. So basically, you check the key symbol.iterator to see if it returns anything. So if it returns undefined, it's not a iterable. And in this case, this object is not a iterable. And also, if you use array instead of object here, you see that it returns a function. Okay, so we looked at iterator, which is used to identify if something is a iterable or not. Let's look at what exactly is iterator. So by definition, the iterator is basically an object that has a next method attached to it and also returns an object. And this object has 2 keys, the value and done. The reason why it does need this requirement is because the JavaScript natively calls those methods when working with iterables. So make sure when you implement iterators, be sure to have those methods and the key properties. For example, the iterator we commonly use is you can find that out by typing array.prototype and then targeting the symbol.iterator key, and it will return a native function. And this function, you can't see it in the browser, but in the documentation, what this iterator does is basically return each value in the array. That's why when we're working with arrays and things like spread operators or the structuring assignment, it will basically use this iterator to work with each value inside of the array. Let's do an example to see how you can make an iterator. So on the right, we have a function. So what this function does is basically returning an iterator. In this case, it's called the range iterator that will count from 0 to infinity. Okay, so we know that this is an iterator because it has a next method, and it also returns an object that contains two keys, the value and done. And you can basically attach this iterator to any object that you want to make the object a iterable. And by making it an iterable, you can use it in things like for off loop. You can use it in the generator functions we've talked about, and there are a lot of other use as well. Okay, so that's a short review of what iterator is and how it is used in JavaScript, as well as how it is using the iterator to define if something is iterable or not. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like this video and would like to see more related content, be sure to like and subscribe. If you have any questions, let me know in the comment below. I hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.